So while they're getting set up, I do want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Mr. Nicholson and to the cadets and other future leaders of this country. Never did I think in my wildest dreams that some 20-odd years ago when I graduated from West Point that I would have an opportunity to be here standing in front of you and giving a discussion kind of like this. It really does redefine. When we took the oath of office and we graduated and we were going to accept a role as second lieutenants in the United States Army, when we talk about a lifetime of service to the nation, I'm getting a feeling of this is what it looks like, right? So being able to stand here and mentor and help provide guidance for you guys going forward. So with that said, our discussion is going to be about leading change, right? Leading change, something that we do or that we're attempting to do right now in the Food and Drug Administration, specifically in the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research is where I work, and I'm a leader and a director right now of an internal consulting group. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. But first, let me just tell you a little bit about me. You got this? Yep, sure. I was not a computer science major. So a little bit more about me. So as I mentioned, I graduated in 1995 from what I think is still the best leadership institution in the world, the United States Military Academy at West Point. From there, my academic development was that I was a math major. My background's in operations research analyst. I also did some work at the Naval Postgraduate School as well. So that's kind of like my academic background, really having that quantitative kind of background using analytics and such. Also, I branched Army Corps of Engineers. So I initially thought that I was going to be be an Army engineer and build some amazing things, some amazing bridges and all that. And I was told I was handed a weapon and asked to go follow the infantry as a combat engineer. So that was really where I got my leadership experience of being able to lead soldiers in a combat engineer platoon. That was really formative for my leadership development. For my professional development, as far as my Lean Six Sigma training, and that's really where I kind of sharpened my teeth as a process improvement expert, was with the thought leaders in the industry at the time, the healthcare supply industry, McKesson Corporation. They had a Lean Six Sigma program, which was kind of an all-inclusive program within industry, which they brought you in and taught you the skills and then expected you to go out to the business and go lead projects. So that was very formative for me as well. Then going on to the Naval Postgraduate School and doing some more operations research training as well. Career succession, currently, as I mentioned, I'm the director for the Office of Programs and Strategic Analysis within the FDA Center for Drugs. And I'll talk a little bit more in depth, but we see ourselves as an internal consulting group, very customer focused, and so that's my career progression. And so my motto and the advice I want to give to the students and the cadets and future leaders of this country is to absolutely embrace fear. Right? This is something that I've has helped me throughout my career. Some people will tell you as far as fear, pretend it doesn't exist, maybe push it out of your mind, those type of things. I choose to embrace fear. I choose to see it as maybe even see it from a personal standpoint of saying, fear, I know you're there, I know you exist, but guess what? You don't get to win today. I get to win today. So that's really kind of my mantra, if you will, for as far as how I've been able to move forward in my career. And then fail forward. You heard Pete talk about it in the robotics lab, talking about rapid prototyping, right? You can't have rapid prototyping without failing forward. So understanding that failure is basically our steps on the way to success, right? So it's completely liberating once you embrace fear and once you decide that you're unafraid to fail, right? So next slide. So start with why. Simon Sinek's book, if you ever get a chance to read it, Start With Why, is something that's really been formative in my career and definitely in the development of my team. Anytime you're doing something, a presentation, a project, whatever have you, always start with why. Why are we doing this? Why is this important? So for our discussion today, I want to answer these 4 questions. First being, why is regulatory excellence important? Why are we pursuing this? What's the so what in all this, right? Second, who are we? Who is the Office of Program and Strategic Analysis? I'll give you a little bit more about that. What is lean process improvement, specifically at the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research? What is that? How are we doing that? And then last, how can you help us, right? What am I going to ask of you? Because there's going to be an ask at the end of this, right? So why is regulatory excellence important? Well, first of all, we understand as regulators at the Food and Drug Administration that there has to be a benefit. There has to be this symbiotic relationship between us and industry, right? If we don't encourage innovation, as we talked about robotics here, and Todd talked about some of the advances and some of the innovations coming down the pike. If we don't encourage that innovation, then there's not going to be anything to regulate, right? And who loses? Do I lose? Do you lose? We all lose, right? So the whole goal of improving public health outcomes, which is why we're here. Some of us will be physicians, some of us will be technologists, some of us will be computer scientists. We all have a role, but our whole goal is we're all on the same team, right? To improve those public health outcomes. So with that, that's why regulatory excellence is important. So we want to foster that environment of both transparency and efficient processes, and that's our goal of what we're trying to do. As far as approvals, we want to have faster approvals. That's definitely a goal. It's a well-balanced kind of thing that while we want to protect the public health, we also want to promote the public health as well, right? So we want to get those drugs to market or those biologics to market or those devices to market. We want to do that. But we also have to play a role as the regulator to make sure that those are safe and effective. And then also we have a safety component, right? Once those drugs or devices or what have you are out there on the market, we need to make sure that there's a safety standard set as well and that we're monitoring that as well. So that's our goal. That's the why. That's why regulatory excellence is important. So as I mentioned, the Office of Program and Strategic Analysis, we're basically a 60-person organization. And as I mentioned, we like to call ourselves an internal consulting group, meaning that rather than us being an external management consulting group like the McKinseys of the world and some of those companies, we're all internal. We're all in-house. We're FDA employees and we're FTEs. And we've taken that dedication basically of being government employees and wanting to solve problems within the government from the inside, from inside of the agency. So we have an economic staff that's made of PhD economists who are dealing with some of the regulatory problems and how they affect policies outside of the agency, a decision science staff. We have a program evaluation staff that's made up of operations research analysts, informatics and data quality. Those are more of our computer scientists and IT folks. And then we have a lean management staff. And that's what we're going to talk about mostly today. Those are the business process improvement experts that we like to think of ourselves as really top class, the best in class process improvement experts within the Food and Drug Administration as well. So what's our mission, right? Cedar Lean, which we like to call it, is the lean management staff, but we're also affectionately known as Cedar Lean. Our mission is to support the Cedar in maximizing operational potential, achieving higher efficiencies by cultivating an environment of continuous improvement through lean management strategies. What does that all mean, right? What does that all mean? We're just trying, basically, we see Cedar as a big factory, right? As one operation. And any way that we can look at that operation every day and try to make those processes better and talking about improving those processes to getting to improving public health outcomes, that's a goal. We see that as a value-added activity. And so our vision is this. We don't want lean or our methodology to be anything fancy any more than everybody, every day, systematically solving the right problems, right? That's our motto. It's not any more complicated to that, and that's how we try to present it to our customers. So this talks a little bit more about the lean staff, and it'll talk a little bit more about lean as far as lean as a process improvement methodology. So as I mentioned, we're officially known as the Cedar Lean Management staff. We're a pretty young staff, right? Only just about 4 years old. We were started in 2012. We see ourselves as an internal consultancy, as I mentioned, and our goal is really pursuit of perfection along a process, right? There really is no finish line with the type of work that we're doing because we feel that every day a process can get better. People can get more involved. You can have less lead time, less waste time within a process. And that's our goal, right? Because we see you as our customers, right? The public health, taxpayers, industry, right? We see you as our customers, so how can we better serve you and deliver value? So we also developed a website. This was really our first step in stakeholder engagement and stakeholder knowledge, so to speak. We wanted to really first tell our customers about what we did, right, and how they can best use that. And so how we did that is really we gave information and background as far as who we were, about us, our team, what we do, how we do it, and then how we can best serve them. So that was really the first step, and any words of advice I can give you as far as doing any type of customer-facing work or any project work, go out and engage your stakeholders and do that stakeholder analysis first. Find out what they care about, because one of the lean proponents is this thing called value, right? And the only person that can decide what is valuable or not is your customer. And that's the person at the end of your process that receives whatever output, good, or service that you're developing. So the customer defines value. So what we had to first do is define what it is we did, and then go back and interact with those folks, our customers, the folks within the agency, and say, is this valuable? Do you find any benefit from this? So that was the first step with our doing that. This just gives you a little bit more background on some of the tools and techniques that we use as far as lean methodology and lean approach. This is the A3 communication report. So lean is not only a process improvement methodology, but it also can be used as a project management tool as well, right? So this is called an A3 report. And A3 is just a fancy name because it's a standard size of paper that we use. We use A3 size paper, 11 by 17 paper, so nothing fancy about that. But you can see on the left-hand side of this, we talk really about defining the problem. What's the background? What are some of the root causes? What's some of the analytics behind that? So we really go into the problem definition on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side of the A3, you can see that's where we go into the opportunities for improvement. So as developing countermeasures or ways to solve those problems. What are some of the ways that we can look at redefining those and maybe do some of that rapid prototyping that Pete talked about in the lab? What are some of the ways that we can do that? Did that rapid prototyping work? Did we solve the problem? Did we not? Did we create another problem? That's where we really get into that. So as you can see with this, there's no magic to this, right? This is just a structured approach as to how you solve problems. And we really want to use this as a communication tool, right? So rather than having people working in a group and people are sometimes jumping to conclusions or people really talking past each other, we try to use this standard approach to have folks engaged and have them walk through the steps and walk through the methodology. And that's really where the discipline comes in into this. So not only internal, right? We want to partner. We want to reach out and connect with some of the other business minds out there or some of the other regulatory and healthcare minds out there as well. So we have done work with the Brookings Institute as well, looking at solving problems, using some of that think tank expertise, if you will, on how we can better solve some of those regulatory problems. The Duke Margolis Center, I just also want to mention, we have several initiatives with them that we are starting on as well. And last one is the Dartmouth Tuck School of Business, right? So the benefit there is, how can we take some of those great minds and some of those great thoughts that are happening right now in business? How can we take those and translate those to a federal agency, right? While we don't work for profit and loss and we don't look at that every year, we still want to focus on operational efficiency and how we can get better and how we can build a better agency. And so now, my ask of you, right? Cadets, right? Future leaders. What's my ask of you? How can you help us lead change? A lot of people think that lean is about fancy names and tools and high-sounding, words and methodology, and it is to some component, but not really. It's really about leaders, right? It's about leaders. We need people who have both the analytical expertise, so the science expertise that you all are pursuing right now, but also can be leaders as well and have those soft skills as well. Being able to stand in front of people and look them in the eye and have those discussions. That's what I found in my career personally that's been very beneficial. While understanding the science and all the things going behind as far as the data and the analytics of what's going on, being able to talk to people and have those tough conversations or even have those beneficial conversations has been extremely beneficial to me. So by you guys being here, you're on the right path. I want you just to continue that and continue to move forward. So that's my ask of you and how you can benefit Cedar Lean. And so if you guys don't come down here and work for Mr. Nicholson, I want to snatch you and have you guys come work for me. So if you can do that, work with me, I should say. So that's my plug for you guys. So with that said, I told Pete that I would be brief. I only had about 10 minutes. So Are there any questions? I'm looking at the cadets because I already had conversations with you guys. I want you guys to ask questions, all right? No, I'm just joking. Any questions? Yes, please.
So what would you say was the most defining part of your career, whether it was in the military?
Yeah.
What's really what helped you
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for asking that, because it helps jog my memory, right? No, the most defining moment. So it was interesting because definitely my time in the Army as a platoon leader is for me personally, was the most formative time, just as far as from a pure leadership component standpoint, when you're the guy in charge and your soldiers are looking to you for answers, and you got to be a problem solver. You have to be able to think on your feet. You have to be able to think quickly and react, and they're all about results, right? It's not about talk and fluff. It's about getting things done. So that was hugely important. But I tell you, what's really been beneficial for me is, as I mentioned about my motto, once I was able to kind of get out of my own way and not be afraid of failing anymore, that, you know what, one thing I learned at the academy absolutely was I was going to fail, and fail often. And I did that pretty well. I think I validated that class. No, once you're able to do that and really embrace that fear and move forward, that's been so formative for me, because really you put the fear aside and you just go for it and you just do. And if you fall down, you get back up and you keep going. So that's really been beneficial for me. Definitely kind of relaxing and understanding that things are just going to work out, right? That's why I've been telling a lot of the cadets I've been talking to, don't worry, right? Just keep working hard. If you get into medical school on the first try, awesome. If you don't, awesome. Because guess what? It's going to work out. Keep pushing, keep going forward. And I say the same thing to you guys over here, right? It's going to work out. Your path may be medicine. It may not be medicine. You may be working in healthcare in a different capacity, but it's going to work out. So just believe that. Keep pushing forward. Great question. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Could you possibly give like a specific example of what your stakeholders want from you?
Yeah. Excellent. Yes. So it was interesting. When I first came to the FDA, I was coming from business, right? And basically saying, you know, there was a different perspective on process improvement, right? They had very clearly defined processes, very clearly defined metrics, and they knew exactly like what problems they were trying to solve. You know, at the FDA, the first thing they said is, whoa, can you help us define our process, like what we do? Because we all do it a bit differently. So really focusing on that, like that interaction with them. First they said, look, you come talking about Six Sigma variations, standards, all these fancy business terms. We're not a business here, right? We're just trying to figure out how we can do our work better every day. So the first thing was really that, having that interaction with them and really understanding what they needed. They didn't need big fancy business terms. Really what they wanted was to figure out how they could do their job better. How can we coordinate better? How can we collaborate with other organizations better? So that's kind of the thing they wanted, but that only happened by doing, you know, what you asked right now, right? Sitting and talking to you and getting your, you know, what are your definements? How do you define value, right? What will be valuable out of this presentation? What did you need to hear? Okay, thank you, right? So, great question, please. No, okay, so something I didn't quite clearly define. So within the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, these are all medical officers or medical reviewers. And what they do is they review, thank you for bringing that up. What we do is we review new drug applications, abbreviated drug applications, and biologic drug applications. So anytime I'm bringing a drug to market or bringing a product to market or a device to market, it has to be reviewed by someone at the Food and Drug Administration to say, hey, this is both safe and effective. I'm stamping it, and I'm moving forward, and you can go ahead and market this and sell this for public consumption, if you will. So that's what our job is. And so our job is to figure out, so now that we understand what we do, how can we do that better, right? So, great questions. Anybody else? I think we're right about at our time limit, yes? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure.